This is not a video I wanted to have to make, but I can say I will definitely be making an emergency trip to Atlanta to go ride ArieForce One at some point in July. So, little tidbit about me. I actually had nightmares about seeing the closing notice on ArieForce One about 3 weeks ago, I would guess, before any of the rumors actually started. I had visions of seeing it, and it was so much of a nightmare that I literally woke up. I logged on RCDB to see if it was real or not, because it felt the most real any nightmare about a coaster going defunct felt like. And I was relieved to see no closing notice, and now, of course, the closing notice is there, because the park it's in is going to be closing. And I mean, part of the reason that when I had that nightmare I believed it was because I hear stories about enthusiasts riding 50, 60, 70, 80, 150 times in a single visit, and half of those rides being Zen rides. So even if I ignore the cost to running the business long term of things like, oh, how much does it cost for the electricity? Because business electric billing generally works as the highest demand at any one time to the power grid is what causes the business to get billed for. So generally, an enthusiast going to a park on a dead day, the park is not getting its highest use of electricity, highest demand on the power grid at any one time. So the park is actually not paying for electricity on that day. But you didn't think you were going to hear that talked about as a thing in an ArieForce video. We're also not going to be taking any maintenance into account. Just what it costs to pay the ride operators. So ArieForce, let's say it requires 2 operators. So if we assume that FunSpot is only paying their ride operators $7.25 an hour, which would be federal minimum wage, which it's disgusting that it's that low. It should be higher, by the way, on that note. But if we assume that FunSpot Atlanta is paying their operators $7.25 an hour, it costs them $14.50 an hour to operate ArieForce One. Now, say that you have a coaster enthusiast who gets 4 hours of Zen rides on ArieForce. The park, based off of $7.25 an hour, which they may very well pay more than that, based off of $7.25 an hour, 2 operators, 4 hours of Zen rides, they're operating at a loss of $20. So, I mean, when I had the nightmare about this happening, it only made sense that that would be the case, that this would eventually be something that we would be facing. But, I mean, I never would have imagined that ArieForce would actually be going defunct. Except... What? How does this have anything to do with ArieForce? Well, take a look at those stats. Specifically the height. Now take a look at ArieForce's. That height, it's within the margin of error for how low the lift starts compared to the station due to the pre-lift. Now let's look at that start. You've got a steel truss lift into what appears to be ArieForce's first inversion on Wallaby Belgium's RMC. Now, you're probably thinking, where's the stall? Because if that is the start of ArieForce, then you would think that they would want to have the stall. Well, it does look like, for getting into where the furs of Loup-Garou are, that it wasn't workable to retain the stall. But also, I will say that concept art is not always 100% accurate. So, I mean, it's certainly possible that they just didn't put that in so that it can be a surprise element that, hey, the ride has a stall under the lift. And it's something that we can plaster all over the place to say, see, the ride is better than the concept art. Also, I mean, it has to be noticed that with the reduced purchase of RMC iBox coasters, that, you know, maybe RMC knew about this and they offered Wallaby Belgium an iBox for really cheap. Like, they were basically like, hey, the parts of ArieForce that are basically flat, we could use as the start of a ride, but we're gonna need a custom second half due to, like, starting from where the outer bank is due to the constraints of what the site would be. But, like, the idea of them preserving that little bit of ArieForce, that definitely sounds plausible. You know, like the idea of, hey, you know, we've got basically brand new trains, we've got all the components, so we can use those in making it so that we can sell a very reduced price iBox, essentially, if RMC got their hands on it. I do think it's possible that under the radar, ArieForce was being sold by RMC, and Wallaby Belgium is the buyer. And they were like, you know, hey, people complain that Loup-Garou is too rough to be comfortable, so, you know, why don't we buy that first part of ArieForce and say, use Loup-Garou's footers after that first part of ArieForce, and this is what we can work in. And then that's what they did. You know, like, I can very much see that being the case, and I believe this to be the ultimate fate of ArieForce One. So, you know, because of this, I can say without question, I will be getting to Fun Spot Atlanta within the month of July so that I can get my laps on ArieForce One. Because I do not trust that the ride is going to be around much longer. Like, I don't think it's getting saved other than being scalped for parts and the first half, basically, that's on flat ground.